Ladies and gentlemen, this is Joe's Classic Video Games back with another cool video for you this evening. Check it out. We got in another one. This is Bally's Heavy Metal Meltdown. You'll get that here in a minute if you've never played it before. This is a really cool game. It's kind of legendary, actually. It's one of the most ridiculous pinball machines that they ever made, and it's super fun. So we've had, I think this is our third one that we've had. So we've been messing with it a little bit, and I thought, you know what, let's film a little video and check it out. This one's in pretty good shape cabinet-wise. The Playfield is another story, but I'll show you that here in a second. This was a Bally 6803 game. They call them that because of the processor that it used. It used a 6803 processor to run it. Which is in the CPU board. So there were only a handful of them, probably maybe a dozen 6803 games. This is a good example. The condition of this game is a good example of things being a little misleading. And if you don't know anything, it's got a great light show. If you don't know much about pinball machines, it can show you some issues you might run into. That backglass, this thing is just out of control. Out of control. So check out the art. Heavy Metal Meltdown. Okay, so this guy is getting it on. Pretty awesome. And then I believe this is a woman getting it on. Pretty awesome. The back box is faded a little bit. Whenever Bally was doing their 6803 games, they were trying to cut corners and make things cheaper, so the cabinet's a little cheaper. Most of the 6803 games, I believe most, maybe not all, but a lot of them don't have specific side art to that game, but this one did. But you can see it's faded a little bit at the top. Let's check out the back box here. So you got this guy. He's killing it. Rock on, brother, rock on. And then you got the same guy, I guess, from the side back here. Nice big hair. This came out in 1987, if there's any doubt. And then you've got the lady over here. She's a rock chick. She's killing it. Meltdown, Heavy Metal Meltdown. The back glass is in nice shape on this one. It's actually like a translite, but it has a piece of glass over it, of course. But very nice. They just used one light bulb to light it up. So there's one bulb right in the middle that lights it up. And then let's check out the Playfield. So as you can see, lots of very colorful, lot going on. The artwork's dominated by this lead guy here in the middle. Look at that face. That's a rock face. It's like a Bruce Springsteen face. It's like he smells something on his microphone. But he's killing it. Look, they made the bonus ladder runs up through the through the guitar neck, etc., etc., etc. And it had this weird plastic thing that covers up they call it the apron, of course, but this one's plastic. Very strange. A lot of times when you get these, the plastics are in really bad shape. This one's pretty bad. The plastic's pretty bad on this one too. But there's an interesting little thing right here. If you look real close, right there, see how there's an arrow? It says power booster, and then there's an arrow pointing to, and there's like a square spot there, and there's nothing there. There was a drop target there at one time in the prototype game. They originally were going to put a drop target there that blocked the ramp, and then they took it out in the full production games. But you can still see the spot for it on the Playfield. So on the back, you've got a little guy playing drums and everything, doing his thing. It's pretty cool. The game has flashers all over it, and underneath the ramp, you can see these lights here. This is actually a brand new ramp that we got from Pinside. We found a gentleman on there, Mr. Free Play, that's his name, who makes ramps, and he made us this nice brand new ramp for a Heavy Metal Meltdown. Usually they're beat all to crap. This game, I think they got played a lot. Usually they're dogged out the whole game. The ramps, just everything usually is pretty beat up, but we're still working on it a little bit. So artwork's cool. We'll play it here in a minute. You can see how awesome the game is. So you can see here too, it says like power booster, and then you've got the amp behind it, and it says power amp, and you've got the amp behind it. And it's got a great look way over the top. Now, I was talking about how if you're not familiar with pinball machines, sometimes you can miss things. Things can be a little misleading. Like for instance, something that we can tell just because we've had these before, these plastics here are not the right plastic. Somebody's remade that. And if you look real close, they did a good job. But those have just been painted. Those are different ones. The original ones didn't look like that. So somebody's made replacement plastics for it. They've put on the Playfield. This one's the same. They did a good job. It looks pretty good, but it doesn't look anything like the originals look. And you can't really get replacement plastics for this. Now the reason they made those is because they get beat up. I mean, tore all to crap. Just the ball flies around. It's a very fast playing game, and there's just, I don't know if that's a design thing or what, but every one of these I've had is just the plastics are banged up. And so you've got things like up here. See how that one's like that too? Got a cracked plastic up there, etc., etc. This is a game that I wouldn't be surprised if they make new plastics for pretty soon, because all of them are like that, especially now that the gentleman's making new ramps for it. Usually the ramps are all banged up and busted up, but luckily we were able to get a new one. Very expensive though, just because there's a lot of work in vacuum forming a one-off ramp like that where you're only doing a few of them. But it looks pretty good, nice and presentable. Now, so just looking at this, you might think it's in great shape. Kind of probably looks that way on this video. But if you're one of my viewers who's pretty keen on these pinballs, you might already see all kinds of problems with it. So not only are those three plastics wrong, and not only are some of the other plastics broke, but check out what they've done on the Playfield. Down here in the middle, they've covered it with Mylar. Now, Mylar is just a thin sheet like this, kind of protective. See the line there? So they covered it with Mylar to protect it, and then look at what's going on the neck of the guitar. It's as if they replaced the insert or something. I can't tell what they did, but if you look real close, there are actually nails holding it into the Playfield. Doesn't affect the gameplay too much because they've got Mylar covering it, and the ball just rolls right over it. But look at that. This thing's been Frankenstein, people. Pretty wild. So that's keeping this game from being a really nice game. Now, back at 3 or 4 feet, you don't even see it. But to a collector, that would completely be a no-go. I mean, they wouldn't even be interested in this machine because of that. So it kind of brings up this little issue with pinball machines. People that collect pinball machines or that are really into them, that know a lot about them, like I said, a game like this they wouldn't even have in their house because of that damage to the Playfield. To a normal person that's just going to play it, they don't even know what I'm talking about. I mean, they don't even see what the deal is. I mean, it looks great, right? So it's kind of an interesting thing that you deal with whenever you're buying and selling pinball machines. Some people will think this thing's in very nice shape. Some people will think it needs to be parted out because of that, that problem on the Playfield. But it is what it is, folks. We will play it a little bit so you can see what's going on. Basically, what's so cool about this game is it plays music, background music, while you're playing. And then every time the ball hits a switch, it adds like a little riff, guitar riff, to the background music. So if you just sit there with the ball sitting cradled in the flipper or something, or sitting in the Outland, it'll just be playing like a rock beat. Now, there's this power amp up here, this ramp you can lock balls in. So you knock the ball up here into this thing and it holds it. Depending on how many balls are in the power amp, the song changes. So it's all just generic music, but it'll play, it's just like a drum beat. And so the drummer's doing his thing, and it's kind of like you're at a rock concert. So if you start hitting the ball and it hits this switch over here, it plays a different kind of little guitar riff. If you hit this long shot over here that says 25K and you roll it up through there and roll over that switch, it plays this long slide like a on the guitar. And just different things depending on which switch you hit, and it adds it all into the mix of the song, which is pretty fun. And I'll show you that here in a second whenever we start playing it. But be back in just a minute. Check out that light show. I don't know if I mentioned it in the first part of the video, but basically the way this thing works, this game, when it kicks the ball out into the out lane, it starts playing a drum beat. And then if the ball just sits there, all you hear is the drums. The drummer's on the back right here. And then as you hit switches, instead of it making little buzzes and beeps and stuff like it does on most games, it actually just has this guy play lead guitar parts. So depending on which switches you hit, it plays different guitar stuff. Very creative. Let's try it out a little bit. I'm going to turn it way up though, so that it sounds good in the video. So watch your ears, folks. Keep in mind, this video, if you'll look, says heavy metal in the title of the video, so I don't want to hear any complaints. And it actually says here on the apron right here, it says, "Tell them to crank it up." So for the locations, I guess they wanted to make sure it was high. So it says instructions: load balls in the power amp to advance level. That's the ramp. Hit flashing level target to light the 100K ramp. Level target. Not sure where that is. We'll look for it. Load 5 balls for Meltdown to release all balls. That's in the power amp. Power amp shot advances the Playfield value multiplier. Spell heavy or metal to light extra ball timer. Load 4 balls to light special. Spell jam, that's the top 3 rollovers, to advance the bonus multiplier. So go for the ramp a lot. That's where the cool part is.
Heavy metal meltdown!
Ha! Ooh. So see how I've got the ball cradled? So all you hear is the drums and I guess the rhythm guitar. So watch, as soon as I start flipping and it hits switches, it adds the lead in. Oh! I got the shot. And also, depending on how many balls you have, you're at a different level underneath the ramp. See these lights right here? And so it plays a different song. Oh, man. I was robbed. And so at the top where it says jam, J-A-M, that's a lane change, so you can change the ones that are lit up by hitting the extra buttons on the side of the cabinet. And if you hit the one on the left, it goes heavy. And if you hit the one on the right, it goes metal. They slid it right by me.
Hey! Metal! Meltdown!
Melt it down. Whoa! That's very hard. That little curve got me. Nope, not enough. It's like everything I wanted. got the rock again, too. And that was only ball 2. That was pretty awesome. Rock again, it says. The multi-ball was awesome. As you saw, when you get multi-ball, basically it flashes all the lights and it keeps saying heavy metal, heavy metal, heavy metal, meltdown over and over again. That's what I was hoping it would do. It did not disappoint. Melt it down, people, melt it down. Man, I won a ton of free games on that one. It was free games after free games after free games. Look, they want to know who I am, so they can brag about this. Put in my initials. That was one of the best games I've done on one of these little demo videos. That's pretty good. And of course, that was all talent. You know, there was no luck involved. All right, so there you go. That is Bally's Heavy Metal Meltdown. What a cool game. Way over the top. Pretty ridiculous. But I love it. Now, by the time you see this video, Bally's Heavy Metal Meltdown may have toured on over to somebody else's house. We may not even have it for sale anymore. But you can see all of the games that we do have for sale on our website. Check it out at lionsarcade.com. Even if it's years from now, check it out and it will be up to date, we promise. If not, you can get on us about it. And now, if you're not looking to buy a game, then just subscribe to us here on YouTube. And every time we get in a cool pinball machine or arcade game like this, we'll film a little video. I hope you enjoyed it. I know I did. I'll see you on the next video.